Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thomas Fletcher and I'm the host of the LCSW network. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of this channel is to create a community of hope and support, where social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. Well, welcome back to Self-Care Saturday. Welcome back to Season 4, Episode 7 of our Self-Care Saturday series. So we are continuing to review excerpts from my book, Self-Care Tips for Social Workers and Other Licensed Mental Health Professionals, now available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback formats. So in today's episode, we will be reviewing an excerpt from Chapter 49, which is about Triggers Action Plan. So the Triggers and Triggers Action Plan was developed by Mary Ellen Copeland, PhD, and discussed in Wellness Recovery Action Plan. She also developed a public domain version called the Action Planning for Prevention and Recovery, which was funded by SAMHSA, or Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. So let's get into this. So she created the Wellness Recovery Action Plan back in the late 90s to provide a paradigm, a system, a self-directed plan for people to get well and stay well, whether they're recovering from different mental health conditions, whether they're just recovering from life circumstances like raising children or divorce or getting older or taking care of elderly parents. We all need wellness and we're all on a recovery journey, So let us cover a little excerpt from this chapter. So let's talk about some common triggers that many people experience. Some common triggers that many people experience may include the anniversary of a death or the anniversary of another traumatic event. Traumatic news events is another example of a common trigger. I wrote in the book here, let's face it, both 2020 and 2021 have been years filled with traumatic news events, whether it's people around us dying from the pandemic, whether it's people dying from police brutality. I identified by the middle of 2020 that watching the news was a triggering event for me. So I stopped watching the news every night like I used to. Prior to 2020, I used to binge watch multiple cable news programs. It doesn't mean that I completely stopped watching the news, but I cut out all the cable news media because I knew for myself that they were triggering for me. That's just one example of identifying a trigger and then coming up with a trigger action plan to address, lessen, or eliminate the effects of the trigger. Another common trigger that people experience is being overly tired. Another common trigger is relationship issues or problems. We all know that in 2020 and 2021, many relationships have definitely been tested, and some relationships have ended. Another common trigger, which was big in 2020 and in 2021, is social isolation or spending too much time alone. Because of this pandemic, we've all been forced to socially isolate ourselves and quarantine ourselves. Being judged, criticized, or put down is another common trigger. Financial problems are another common trigger. We can't even begin to talk about how many people lost their jobs in 2020. Massive unemployment, people not being able to pay their rents, not being able to pay their mortgages. Other common triggers may include physical illness, sexual harassment, feeling unsafe, feeling left out, coming into contact with things that remind you of deprivation or abandonment, excessive stress, excessive guilt, and substance abuse. Of course, there are many more, and we can go on and on, but these are some common triggers that have been identified by Mary Ellen Copeland during her many years of studying mental health recovery. So after we identify these common triggers, what we want to do is create a trigger action plan. Can you guess where we create the trigger action plan from? I've talked about it in previous episodes on this channel. So we're going to create the trigger action plan from our wellness toolbox. Yes, that's why I keep talking to you. That's why I've talked on this channel many times about creating and using a wellness toolbox. Okay, so we're going to use these wellness tools to address the triggers that we've identified. So one example of a trigger action plan is to do everything in your daily maintenance plan. We talked about that in another video. In the book, it's in chapter 36. Other examples of a trigger action plan include calling a support person and asking them to listen while you talk through the situation. Another example of a trigger action plan is doing some deep breathing exercises, getting validation from someone that you feel close to, doing a half-hour relaxation exercise. Here are some other examples that you can put in your trigger action plan. Journaling, vigorous exercise, focusing exercises, peer counseling, seeing or talking to your therapist, counselor, case manager, or sponsor. So these are just some common trigger action plans that we can create. But the beautiful thing about this is each of us can create our own individualized trigger action plan to deal with our own unique triggers. All right, so I'm going to stop right there, but I want to thank you all for watching this video. I invite you all to create your own triggers action plans. Okay? Well, thank you all for watching. For all the social workers and other licensed mental health professionals, thank you for the work that you do every day. For your clients, for your agency, and for the profession. Please continue to support each other and yourselves. Bye for now.